ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's roll. All right, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Podcast. My name is Eric Scholey, one of the hosts, and with me as always is...
Megan May.
Heck yeah. And today we have the pleasure of having one of my really close friends, but also, I'm going to call you a legend in the mortgage industry here locally. Rusty Mendoza is joining us, so welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I know Rusty I've known for quite a few years, so I'm excited to have him on here, but also it took a while, and I had to have some perseverance to be able to nail down your busy schedule to get you on the show. So thank you for taking the time and coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
So I always like to start off by just doing an introduction and letting the guest just share a little bit about themselves, whatever you're wanting to share, both personally, professionally, family, hobbies. I know you do a lot of things, so whatever you're willing to share, we're willing to listen.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm a devoted husband. I have a beautiful wife named Corey. 2 kids, James and Stella, and 2 stepkids, Skylar and Jaden. And so we've got a family of 6, and I've been in the mortgage industry now for 22 years. To say that it has become a career and a profession would be an understatement. It's become more of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, I firmly believe if you love what you do, you've never worked a day in your life. And that's how this industry's been to me. It's been really good to me. It's been really rewarding. All the relationships that I've made from business partners such as yourself to clients that I've helped over the years, and watching them go through all of the goals reached and being a part of those experiences and helping them get there has been an honor. So outside of work and home, I am an avid tennis player. My tennis team is going to nationals. Nationals in Scottsdale, Arizona, October 7th, 8th, 9th, to compete for the national championship.
That's awesome.
So we're really excited about that.
Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. So I love playing tennis, and I love competing. I'm also a baseball coach. I've coached 8 years at Little League, and my son is now playing Majors All-Stars this summer.
I saw you made All-Stars, so congratulations for that, too. You got to be excited and proud.
Yeah, exactly. It's been so much fun. I chose to not be in the selection process of the All-Star coaching because this is my last year of coaching baseball, since my son's now aging out into that next level. And I never had a chance to be a spectator the entire time. I've always had to be in the dugout, which has been a blessing. But, I figured one All-Star season, what the heck? I want to sit on the sidelines. I want to eat my popcorn, drink my soda, and cheer my son on from the stands. So that's been a fun experience. We had our first game last week. We beat Folsom. And then we have our next game tomorrow, in which we play Colorado Hills. So hopefully they keep going on and advancing. Family man, husband, father, tennis player, baseball coach, mortgage loan officer.
Fitness guy. I know you're big into fitness and also outdoors, right? You love hiking, backpacking. I mean, I know that's
Absolutely.
you
Hiking,
and I have a lot of things
biking.
in common there.
Absolutely.
You love the outdoors and have a love for nature.
That's a whole lot of hats.
Yeah, absolutely. I try and live life to the fullest and do what makes me happy.
That's
so
awesome.
Absolutely.
And I will say this: I'll title Rusty as a student of life.
Nice.
Because whatever he gets into, and he'll research and learn. I mean, I had a few years ago, I was having some back issues, and he was like all of a sudden a therapist. He knew all the back stretches to do. He actually came to the gym and worked out with me once to help me with some form issues. So it's just, but he carries that over kind of in everything he does. He's a wealth of knowledge on just so many topics, kind of like the most interesting man in the world type thing.
Good person to have
Yeah.
in your corner.
No, that is actually another side passion of mine. I have a big heart for people that are going through back issues. So I'm constantly running into people that are saying, hey, I've got back issues, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know the cervix and the thoracic part of the spine very well, but I know the lumbar extremely well.
So I've got this spot right here.
Yeah. So you know, I'm always inviting people over to my house in the mornings and
Yeah.
showing them different stretches
Yeah.
to do, ways to move out of it, because yeah, that journey of going through my back pain, in which I wound up with the triple discectomy, I learned a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And, yeah,
Sure.
if you can move out of it, that's better than the surgery.
Yeah.
And what I know now, I try and share that with a lot
Yeah.
of people too. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have our high fire specialist, Adam Levine, not from Maroon 5. You know, he's had chronic back issues. He was an ex-police officer, and you know, watching him for the last few years on a daily basis, how much it just affected him, his quality of life, and he actually ended up going the surgery route a couple months ago. So he was out of the office for about 6 to 8 weeks. He just came back a few weeks ago, but he's still going through that healing curve right now.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big surgery for him. So.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that he comes out the other side with a lot less pain and
Yeah.
quality of life increases, because it's so debilitating when you have a bad back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, well, good. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Like I said, and I know we had your wife on this show, so we had the joy of talking to her, and I made the comment that you guys are like the cutest Facebook couple ever. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, you guys are like honeymoon phase forever. You know, you've been married for 5 years. And then a couple days after we aired the show, you posted that really nice thing about how much she means to you and all that stuff. And I even went, well written. And I tagged her in it, because I was with my little smiley face like, yep, see, I knew it. But yeah, you guys,
Yeah,
you
man.
guys are a good example just for not only your kids, obviously, that's a very important, but you know, for friends and people in the community, just to see, hey, this is how a healthy relationship should be. And it's, so I commend you on that. I think it's a very
Yeah,
important
thank
thing.
you.
And I love how outwardly you guys share your love with each other for others to enjoy and see as well. I think that's really important. And a lot of couples don't do that. I think that's really important.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just it takes a lot of work. You know,
Yeah.
you don't just run into a successful relationship. You know, it's something that you got to work on, like everything else in life. So,
Every day.
you know, I feel blessed to have Corey as my wife, and the love that we share, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's awesome.
Well, great. Well, let's transition into your mortgage industry. So I know you said 22 years you've been in the business.
22.
Okay, so let's just talk about. I always like to, you know, have people go back to whatever that time was, and why you chose this industry, how you got into it, some of the chain of events that got you into it, maybe what you
Yeah.
did before you know, but transitioning. I always think that's important, and just it's fun to see kind of how everyone kind of gets into their industry or their calling or what have you.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind sharing a little bit how you got into the industry, I'd like
Yeah.
to hear that.
I like sharing this story.
Okay,
So
good.
thanks for asking, because you know, I don't think anybody wakes up one day and says, you know, I want to go into the mortgage business.
Right.
Right? The mortgage business finds you. You don't find the mortgage
Yeah.
business. And so the way that it began for me was I was up in Chico going to Butte College, and my dad lived in Chicago, and his next door neighbor in Chicago owned a C on the Chicago Board Options Exchange. So one day I'm out and spending time with my dad in Chicago, and we're having a barbecue with his neighbor, and his neighbor asked me what I was interested in, and I said, you know, finance and economics, and he goes, heck, if you ever want to work on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, I'd love to have you, you know, working for me. Here I am as a 19-year-old kid, and I'm just like, wow, that would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, and, you know, you can go to DePaul University right here in downtown Chicago, and they've got one of the best finance schools in the whole country. So within a week of that barbecue, I had scheduled a meeting with the counselor at DePaul University and wanting to learn more about what it would take to go there. So one thing that came out of that meeting, besides all the curriculum that I would need to accomplish leading up to transferring there, was that they turn away more applicants than they accept. So she said, if you can get some sort of a job in the finance industry, that'll really help your chances of getting accepted into DePaul. So I took all that information. After about 4 weeks of spending the summer at my dad's in Chicago, I went back to Chico, and just filled with motivation and hope and vision for my future. And one of the things I had to, what also helped my chance of transferring, was to get into the Honors Society at Butte College. So I just devoted myself to my studies, and I had a theology professor that nominated me into the Honors Society after that semester. So I checked that box, got into the honors program, and now I'm like looking for, what can I do in the finance industry, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, I worked at Chico Sports Club, which was like the premier sports club in Chico at the time. Probably still is. I'm not sure, but so I would always work early mornings, get there about 5, get everything set up in the club, and then, when our doors opened at 5:30, I was the first person that people would see when they come in. So I had been there for about 2 years. I knew just about everybody in the entire club by first name, knew their kids by first name. I was always very a warm greeter, and a lot of times it would get extremely busy, we're at 80 Sports Club, and then not only that, but you got phones to answer, and people call in sick, and sometimes you're up there by yourself. So it's a Saturday morning. The owner of the club calls in and says, he was a big racquetball player, and said, reserve me and 2 of my buddies for, court 1 at 9 o'clock. So it's probably, 7:15 right now. And, okay, you got it, Jeff, no problem, hang up. Next thing I turn around, somebody needs my help here, get help them there. Oh, they went to a locker key here, get locker key there. Like 5 minutes of just distraction, and I forget to write his name down in the book, right? So about 8 o'clock, somebody else comes in on their shift, and then they answer the phone, write his name down, reserve this person down for court 1 at 9 o'clock, and so 9 o'clock, the owner comes in, goes over the racquetball book, and he's just like, "Why is my name not here on the book?" And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I totally blew that. Here's what happened. Da, da, da. And he's like, "Well, there's no other courts. What are we going to do?" And I go, "I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I made a mistake, right?"
Yeah.
And this guy is 6'7", retired NFL 49er offensive guard, and he can get pretty mad pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so he lost his stuff on me there at the front desk, and I just said, "You know what? I'm out.
Have a good
See ya."
day. Yeah.
And I just quit on the spot because,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be talked to that way.
Right.
And so I just quit on the spot. So I get home, I'm feeling pretty sorry for myself now, right? I just quit my job. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to pay my rent? What am I going to do? And about 2 weeks before that incident happened, I had met a guy named John Hambeck. And I love John. John owned a carpet business in town. So one day, John comes into the club, and he said, we just talk, and I go, "Hey, John, how's carpet business?" And he goes, "It's great. I sold it."
Oh.
I'm like, "Cool. What are you doing now?" And he goes, "I'm doing mortgages." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he just gives me his card. So I was like, "Oh, thanks." Put it in my pocket. Didn't even connect the dots, right?
Right.
And I go, "How's mortgage business treating you?" And he goes, "It's great. I'm closing on a $4 million apartment complex loan next week, and I'm going to get a big commission check." And I was like, "Wow, cool, good for you. That's awesome, right?"
Yeah.
So here I am sitting in my room, just quit my job, and I look over on the corner of my nightstand, and I just see John's card. And then the light bulb went off. I'm like, wow, finance job.
Yeah,
right?
checks all the
It's going to help me
boxes.
transfer to the PA. I need a job, right? So I call John, and John says, "Yeah, come on in. I'll set you up with a meeting with the owner of the company. And his name's Danny. Danny's a great guy. You'll love Danny. When do you want to come in?" I go, "How about Monday morning?" He goes, "Okay, cool." So go in Monday morning, meet with Danny, and I think we had a meeting like 9:30, something like that. And here I am sitting like my brand new, fresh, pressed white shirt from Ross, and my tie and my slacks and my belt buckle, looking as fresh as you can be in the business, right? And I'm doing a job interview with Danny, and he goes, "So what do you know about loans?" And I'm like, absolutely nothing.
Yeah. You need
Absolutely
one?
nothing. And he goes, well, why do you want to be in the mortgage business? I said, well, I want to go to DePaul University. And they said it would help my chances of getting accepted if I got a job in finance. So I don't know anything, but I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to learn. I'm a full-time college student, so I'm going to be coming and going from school to this job throughout the day as my schedule. But I'll work hard and I'll do the best I can for you for the next 18 months that I'm here, and then I'm going to move on. He says, okay, tell you what, I'll give you the job. You got to get your real estate license before you can start working. And then in order to learn the job, I'm going to allow you to come into my office every day at 4:45. I leave on the dot at 5 o'clock, but I'm willing to stay till 5:05 for you. So you can listen to me for 15 minutes when I'm on the phone, take questions. I'll give you 5 minutes of time to answer any of your questions, and then we'll do it again the next day, right? So the 30 days that I'm studying for my real estate test, that's what I did. I just go to school, did my homework, went in every day at 4:45, listened to him on the phone. He'd be saying things like amortization, 30-year fixed, 7.25. I mean, he just,
Oh, yeah.
whatever's coming up, right? I'm writing down. And so then at 5 o'clock, he'd be like, okay, what does amortization mean? And he'd like talking. I mean, it was just, I was so ground level with it. And when I had quit my job, I had about $1,600 in savings. So my rent was $250. My gas usually was around $50, and then I figured if I ate cheap enough, I could live on about $100 a month in food. So I was like, okay, I got 4 months to get a commission check, right? 30 days forward into it, passed my exam, I'm licensed, and then I was like, okay, Danny, my question today is I kind of like that business. He goes, well, talk to people, like, go sell. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Well, I know a whole bunch of people at Chico Sports Club, and maybe they will allow me to volunteer, not be an employee, but volunteer during peak hours where I'll just be back in the weight room, wiping down equipment, stocking weights, and doing all that stuff. So they created a volunteer position for me doing
awesome.
that, in which I would go down during peak hours and wipe equipment down, restock weights, all that sort of stuff. And then people would be like, hey, what are you doing back here? Aren't you supposed to be at the front desk? I'm like, oh, no, I quit. I'm just doing this as a volunteer position. Like, well, what are you doing now for work? It's like, well, I'm in mortgages. And like, do you need a loan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And at this time, rates were coming down from about like 9.5 into 8, 8.25. He's like, yeah, what are rates at today? Oh, about 8%. Well, I'm at 9.5. Maybe let's talk about a refi. All right, cool. What's your number? I'll call you tomorrow, right? So that's how I got my leads. I just volunteered on the floor.
Hustle on the gym floor.
Yeah, we're on the gym floor, talking to people, asking me why I was back there versus up at the front desk. Led to a conversation on loans.
Well, and thank goodness the owner didn't hold a grudge.
Right, and then next day, call them and say, okay, let's see what we can do. Take the application by hand, run to Danny and say, now what do I do with this? So it helps you put it in the system. Give them a rate quote. Got more no's than yeses, but finally one stuck. And I'm like, okay, cool. When do I get paid? They're like, well, we just put this thing into the system. It's gonna take like 30 to 60 days for it to become finalized. I'm like, okay, well, I got about 3 weeks of money left, so I probably should go do something, right? So I went down to Olive Garden that day after work and applied for a buster job. They hired me on the spot. So I would bust and wash dishes and got a few more weeks of income till that first loan closed. I remember getting my first commission check and it was like $1,300 and like, sweet, I got 3 more months of living expenses.
There you go.
Quit Olive Garden, I'm out of there, right? And then they just started to fall after that. And one thing led to another. Finished my schooling, was ready to transfer to DePaul. But by this point, I had a pipeline of over 30 loans. And it was just like, yeah, I can't walk away from this. I like this too much, you
Maybe
know?
DePaul can wait to this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. So I said, well, DePaul will always be there. I'll put this on hold. I'll wait till the market slows
Nice.
down, and it never slowed down.
Yeah.
What a great story. And I think,
so cool.
yeah, for salespeople out there, because I see this all the time, you know, being in management myself and recruiting and training a lot of people in sales, is you don't know how many people are so close to, you know, hitting that threshold and probably having a very promising career in whatever they're in. But not many people are willing to get to that edge like you, where you're down to your last 2 or 3 weeks and then having to go get another job on top of volunteering and going to school. You know, 98%, 99% of the people wouldn't have done that. And then there would have been no Rusty Mendoza in the mortgage industry, which would have been a shame. Yeah. So you really start thinking that. So I think it's just important. I love stories like this. So thank you for sharing that. It's just, you know, the perseverance. You know, most people will see now you 22 years later, you know, with a great quality of life, great, you know, team with you, great clients that you work with, but they don't see, you know, what you had to go through at the beginning to make this happen. And that's often lost and forgotten. Not to you, obviously. You probably remember it every day. And but I think that's just so important to let resonate, is just, you know, going that extra mile and seeing things through, even when it gets extremely rough, extremely scary. Because then those stories are so much sweeter when you come out on the other side. I just love hearing that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, man. I think the grit and the perseverance that you develop when you go through those things are things that'll carry you through every chapter of your life. And so I love seeing young guys get in the business and devote their time and energy to it and make it a passion for themselves and getting through, because you know, those are the people that come on to, you know, lead our communities and future generations. And
exactly. Too many people want instant success or instant gratification. I always tell everyone is, if you're getting into it, get into it for the long game, right? Try to get that burn rate as long as possible, even if you have to supplement with other jobs, and just get in it for the long game to see it through. So that's congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun story for sure.
So you never ended up going to DePaul. You just stayed in the mortgage industry from there on out and just kept rolling then. And that really started this 22-year journey for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, one of the other keys to success that really helped in the early part of my career was, you know, just because I started making, you know, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a month as a 20-year-old kid, I was like used to only living on $400.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, why do I need to spend more than $400?
Right.
So what did I do? I turned around and invested 80% of all my money into marketing. And there was a marketing company called Impact Media in Chico. Bob Condos, he's still up there. He's still running that company. It's still an amazing company that does amazing marketing things for people. But I just started paying a retainer. But Bob, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? Well, fast forward after about a year of my first commission check, and he had me on TV commercials. So I would show up at peak times during like Kings-Lakers games.
Oh, nice.
And next thing you know, I'm down at the Graduate, you know, watching the game with my friends. And then, you know, big screen TV, bars packed with everybody. And all of a sudden, Rusty, what are you doing on TV? You know, like just like me.
You quickly became Mr. Chico out there, yeah.
Oh man, they used to give me so much stuff for that. You know, and then I was like on every pharmacy bag in town, every park bench. I had 3 different billboards.
You were everywhere.
It just, and then, you know, by the time, I mean, about 2.5 years in the business, you know, my pipeline was always over 50 loans, and it was just, it just blew up. So, I mean, once you run into that early part of success in the career, if you can continue to reinvest it into marketing, and then, you know, marketing's like working out. You're not going to see any results for the first 9 months, right? But after 9 months, 12 months of having stuck with it, you know, you're probably looking pretty good at that point, right? And just that consistency of staying with the marketing plan, you know, really pays off 20-fold. So,
No, that's great. That's great. So let's fast forward then, because I know your journey for the last 22 years has taken you through a lot of different roles within the industry, various agencies or firms or brokers you've worked with. I know you've been in, you know, management, team leads, solopreneur. I mean, you've done it all throughout the 22 years and experienced it all. where do you like working the best? In more of a management leadership role? Do you like being down in the trenches?
Yeah, great question. So, from started off as loan originator, and then moved into a loan originator / trainer, training other loan officers, in which my company that I worked for at the time would fly me all over the West Coast, training other people getting into the business, teaching them. This is 2003 when there was a big technology change. We had a lot of loan officers that were very old school and took their applications by hand still, and then would type them into the system after that, and dealt by fax, and a lot of old ways that needed to be improved. So I would work with new guys getting in the business, but then also old guys trying to teach them new tricks.
Right.
And so I did that for about 9 months, in which I would leave my house in the first flight out of Sacramento about 5 in the morning, land either in LA or Portland or Seattle or Boise, Idaho, or wherever it would be, and then I would have a loop of just traveling all of the branches in that area, and then I'd fly home Thursday afternoon, catch up on all my personal stuff on Friday, and then work over the weekend on my doing open houses or whatnot. But after about 9 months of not having a single day off, it just got to be too much for me. I was tired of eating at Chili's next door to the hotel that I was staying at every day.
But they have the best chips in the world. Chili's chips and salsas, that sounds delicious right now.
Salsa, yeah.
They have the best chips and salsa in the world. Sorry.
Yeah, but
I just went on a little sidetrack there. It's lunchtime. Come
I
on.
know. I was
Give
going
me
to
a
say,
break.
were we going for lunch after?
You can only do so many push-ups in your hotel room before you want to get back on a bench press machine. So just I stepped down from that position and went back into loan originating on a team, and learned from one of the best in this area. He had an incredible team. So he was probably my first high-level producer mentor. And so I got to see a mortgage team functioning at the highest level. And then after about 2 years on his team, I basically took the knowledge that I learned and went out on my own, started my own team. And then after about a year of that, started my own company with a business partner. We did that for 5 years, but then owning a company is completely different than just originating. And at this point, I had gotten married, had my kids, and so my priorities were changing from being a single guy to now a father that wanted quality life with his family. So said we need to, I needed to change, right? So we rolled our business into another business, sold it, and then I just went back to being a loan originator at that point. And I had a brief stint as a branch manager, where I managed an office for about 3.5 years during that time. But then even then, a lot more responsibility there. And I realized the heart of my passion in this business was just working with the customer, taking care of my clients and just focusing on their loan. And I could do that really efficiently and then have quality life outside of that. So that's where I'm at today. That's my favorite aspect, is just focusing on my clients and bringing value back to my team. And then outside of that, being a dad, baseball coach, active community member.
Work-life balance. You do that very well.
That's awesome.
Well, good. Well, we're going to talk about kind of where you're currently at in today's market. But before we do that, we're going to take a short break. And we come back, we're really going to dive into today, right? What's going on with you now. So we'll be right back, and we'll take a short break. Thank you. All right, welcome back to the Greatness Podcast. We are here having a fantastic conversation with Mr. Rusty Mendoza. So we were talking before the break, just really on the evolution of your career, the different roles, and really work-life balance, right? And you really found your passion working with people. I know over the last few years, our firm, Sky Insurance, has worked really closely with you and your clients. So I'll start by saying this, and we can kind of go into it. But if you're in sales, you've probably heard the term, and this because it covers all different industries. It's called being the doctor, right? And the idea of that is being an expert, but being a trusted expert, where your clients take your insight, your advice, your knowledge, and it holds a lot of weight from a decision-making standpoint and putting a plan together. So the idea is, when you go to a doctor, they give you a prescription, and you're putting pills in your body or a treatment based off what the doctor says, because you have a lot of trust in them and their credentials and who they are. And I could say we work with a lot of lenders, a lot of realtors and lenders in the areas, and you're at the top of what I would call being the doctor. You do a really good job working with your clients, putting plans together, and not just short-term plans, but really you do a really good job of long-term planning, financial planning with using mortgages and how that looks long-term. And you build a lot of trust with your clients. So, when we get brought into the picture and start working with them, it's evident. It's evident the relationship you have with your clients, the role you play in their lives. So I want to commend you on that. And I think that speaks to where you said you really like working in that, and it shows because you're adding a lot of value to a lot of people's lives. So that I just wanted to throw out there. But I want to also talk about, so now you're back at the loan originator, really working closely with clients, and you've recently moved, and I think you said in January, over to Movement Mortgage.
Yes.
So I just want you to touch a little bit about why you made that move. I know you're flourishing, you love it here, but really kind of what step took you to get that move where you're at today, and then I want to then follow up with what's going on today, right? Obviously, a lot of things happening in the market. The industry, a lot of changes that are globally, United States, and I just always like to get people's opinions, outlook, and all that. But let's just start on why you made the move to mortgage this year, or Movement Mortgage this year, and the values, because I know they have similar values to you, and all of that. So I just love to hear you speak on that.
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Thank you. So the reason I came over to Movement was, end of last year, I saw the writing on the wall that the refinance opportunities were going to begin to fizzle down, and we were moving into a purchase market. So Movement, hands down, from what I've seen in all my years in the business, is the best of the best when it comes to closing purchase transactions. I mean, we can close loans quicker than the minimum time frame needed to get one done, which by law is 7 calendar days. So we can close them quicker than that. And, I wanted to give my clients a competitive advantage in this highly competitive market of being able to have that service level that they would bring to the escrow. So I chose to move into Movement. That was the most, I would say, the most strategically aligned purchase mortgage company in the business. And that was a primary factor bringing me over here. But then also, after being in the business for so long, it becomes more than just a mortgage. And it was, a spiritual calling for me as well. I mean, Movement is a Christian-based company. And as a believer myself, it was very important for me to be aligned with a company that shared the same values in that regard. So Movement devotes hundreds of millions of dollars in profit to their nonprofit organization, and we're building schools all across the country that are in inner cities, giving kids a quality of life that they would never get otherwise, or perhaps have a hard chance of having that quality of life. And we give them scholarships to our schools. So each school will school 1,000 kids, K through 8. And being a part of that mission and that passion brought a lot of fire to my purpose in my career. And being aligned with that was kind of the nail in the coffin that said, okay, this is where I'm going.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to kind of have it all line up for you here as you're continuing through your career.
That's awesome.
So let's talk about this year. Let's talk about this market.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're seeing. So just anything you want to share. I know you're a big numbers guy. I know you do a lot of research. So that's why I love when I have lunch with you, whether it's any topic, right? I mean, we could talk about global economies, cryptocurrency. You and I talk about real estate investing, sports cards. I mean, we cover the gamut on all sorts of different things. But let's focus mostly on really the loan market and the real estate market.
Sure.
What you see going on this year and kind of what your outlook is moving forward.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Obviously, interest rates are rising, and inflation is a problem that we're having to deal with. So rates have to go up in order to keep up with the pace of inflation. If I'm a mortgage bond investor and I'm going to make a purchase into a mortgage-backed security pool, I want to know that I'm getting a positive return on my investment.
Sure.
And arch enemy of mortgage bond investing is inflation. I mean, if inflation stays at 8.6, but I'm only getting 6.6 on my loan, I'm losing 2% every year, right? So that's what's causing mortgage interest rates to rise, is the inflation. So that's a tough challenge for people to get their head around, because they go back, well, wait a minute, 12 months ago I was at 3.5, and now you're telling me it's 6.5. And so whenever rates go up that fast, that quick, it takes a while for people to accept a new normal.
Sure.
And then in addition to that, we're still seeing historically low inventory. I look at this all the time. Redfin has a great resource on looking at market stats, and it'll paint the last 10 years pictures for you. So you go back to 2012, Sacramento region had over 8,000 homes on the market. Today, we have barely over 3. So,
Yeah, that's significant.
yeah, I mean, we all know what happened with home prices from 2012 to today, right? And then and they've gone up. And we have less inventory today, and our region is growing quite a bit since 2012. I don't know the exact number, but I think we're around 2.1 million people in the Sacramento area on a daily basis in terms of commuters and everything. And back then we were about 1.4. So, we've gone almost about 33% over the last 10 years, and housing inventory has decreased. So it's been a challenge to get past the fear that a lot of home buyers have in this market, because what do they see? They see headlines from all these different news headlines on their phone. Real estate's crashing, we're going backwards, price reductions are happening, get out of real estate now before it's too late. And it's just, the reason why those headlines exist is because fear sells, right?
Sure.
If I click on that, well, they just did their job. And now that fear is stuck in my head, and I may make an irrational decision based upon media just trying to scare me.
Yeah.
So educating people that, we are not going to have a repeat of what occurred in 2008.
Right.
Yeah.
What occurred in 2008 was a recession led by housing. This recession that we're getting ready to go into is led by inflation. Two different complete things.
Yes.
So if we look at the past 10 recessions that we've been in, there's only been one in which housing prices declined, and that was led by housing.
Yeah.
Right? So traditionally, housing has done well through recessions, and so I keep reminding people that. I say, let's just look at the stats. If we had 8,000 homes, we had 1.4 million people. Now we have 3,000 homes and 2.1 million people.
Supply and demand.
Affordability is still there. I mean, people can still afford the homes even at the rates and prices that there are today. So, don't jump to rash conclusions. And so just getting over that fear that people have and
Consumer fear is a powerful thing, though. So it'll be interesting to see if and when that does happen, where people do adjust to the new rates and prices, and know that the sky isn't falling when it comes to the housing market. Because obviously it's only been 13, 15 years since that 2008.
Yeah.
Which for a lot of people scarred a lot of people or scared a lot of people. So it's just, the news throws a headline out there and immediately people can go back there, emotionally go back there.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
I remember how that felt. I remember how scary it was. A lot of people lost their homes. So they're like, I don't want to go through that again and all the above. But if they can get past that and start understanding, like you were saying, look at the numbers and try to find those opportunities. Because I've had a lot of friends that for the last 2 years needed to buy a house but didn't because they were waiting for the market to crash.
Right.
And they've lost 30% of equity opportunity from waiting, right?
As I'm in my early 30s, trying to look at buying a house or whatever. It's hard to just say like, okay, well, let's just do it now instead of holding out for a decrease in prices or something like that. So it's a holdout factor as well as a fear factor, I think.
But that holdout factor, I mean, that's what we were just saying is that's hurt you the last couple of years
100%.
having that.
Yeah.
It probably cost you
100%.
$150,000 for that ideology,
Exactly.
And it sounds like what you're saying is it's going to continue. So that holdout's going to only hurt you as you continue to go, even with the rise of
yes, absolutely. It's going to continue. It's not going to continue at the same 15 to 20% pace that we've seen, but it's going to return to more of a traditional 3 to 8%, average
Right.
somewhere around 5% appreciation, which is healthy and sustainable, right? Wages can keep up with that.
Yeah.
It's a much better place to be long term. But no, there is no outside of a black swan event, there's nothing that's going to directly drive prices down. So,
Yeah.
That's
so
good to
people
hear.
need to get over that fear.
Yeah.
Cost of waiting is a big opportunity cost right now. People say, "Well, let me save another $50,000." Okay, well, how long is it going to take you to save that $50,000?
Right.
2 years. Okay, so if you could qualify to buy a house today, I'd say 700,000, and we gain 5% appreciation over the next 2 years. That's 70 grand over 2 years, and you save 50. You can't outsave
Correct.
the
Right.
market. So it's
Right.
like,
If you're leveraging that big number.
and then that 50,000 might save your payment $250. You know, it's like, now you're paying 770
Yeah.
Yeah.
versus 700. It just it comes down to looking at the numbers, being logical, even if it's tight right now, getting in.
Right.
Even if you're not going to be able to save as much money every single month that you have become accustomed to, but you keep some money in the bank as savings in case things happen, and you can afford to buy it, and you're not going to be able to save as much as you were because your housing payment is going to be a lot more, there is going to come a point in time where the rates will come back down. And guess what? You've already secured your housing price. Now I'm able to just drop my payment
Right.
without having to pay more for that house. So helping people understand that and showing them the numbers and how that all plays out in the long run is what's going on right now. And those conversations I almost wish I could record myself on one and then just play it because it's the
Right.
same thing each
Yeah,
time.
well, that's what
Right.
that being the doctor, like I was saying, you do
Right.
a really good job of educating and showing people and alleviating those fears. And I don't think a lot of people in your industry are equipped to do it the way you do it. And I think that's a benefit for your clients working with you is you can navigate them, through statistics and knowledge down that road to make what's the best decision for them, whether it is waiting or making the purchase and
Absolutely.
making it happen. So
Yeah, absolutely. And people that have taken losses on the stock portfolio, and like that was where their down payment was going to come from. There's ways to work with that too.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like I would say there's more ways to make something happen than not.
Yeah.
And being able to look at it from all angles and put together a long-term plan. If you haven't bought a house yet, you're not behind the 8 ball. You just have to figure out how to do it today.
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this show? Because I think this has been a phenomenal
I
show, and I
know.
appreciate
I
all
loved
the
it.
knowledge you've been dropping. But any words of wisdom you want to end with here, or
I just want to say thank you guys for always doing a great job of insurance
thank you.
with our customers. I mean, you guys will present them with all options, and you guys will help them find the proper protection without overpaying for it. And that really helps a lot right now because I've had clients that lost their homes in the Paradise Fires, that you guided them through that.
Yep.
Having that agent that has their back helps them have the right protection and right coverage without having to overpay for it. That's extremely valuable to me. So thank you guys.
no,
for
thank you,
all
thank you.
that.
Yeah. We definitely we try to be the doctor as well. We take pride in educating and making sure that we're helping the clients navigate that that part of the equation. So and making sure they're properly insured. So thank you for saying that.
Lots of things that insurance and mortgage go hand in hand, but they are both very confusing. So we're happy to be able to educate clients.
Yeah. Well, good, man. Well, everyone knows I'm a big fan of you, not only as a brother, but just as a colleague in the industry and seeing what you do and what you bring to this industry. I want to thank you for that. And thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And this is another episode of the Greatness Podcast. And thanks again, Rusty Mendoza, Movement Mortgage. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.